We're all living our lives in these ridiculous ways. We're undergoing these ritual pantomimes that we've never had to before in our lives. People like me think this is a bit strange. People like me aren't happy with it. I know many others think the same way. But the vast overwhelming majority are living in this way simply because their government has instructed them to. And they're not thinking to question it. It hasn't occurred to them that they can actually do their own research. There might be alternative ways of looking at this situation other than what they all these other mainstream outlets can tell you. Anyone is capable of thinking for themselves. The capacity is there to be tapped into. It's another essential part of the human experience. And yet most are just going along with the official narrative and behaving like slaves. You're being treated like fucking slaves, being told where you can go, when you can go there, who you can see, who you can't. Why are we putting up with this? And another question I've got is, where are all the real men? Where are all the real men in the UK with balls, with a backbone, with a bit of pride and self-respect and dignity and a respect for their own rights and freedoms and those of their families and those of others? Why are men not standing up, calling this thing out and resisting it in their mass numbers as they should be? You know, somewhere out there, there's a twilight zone parallel where people do as behind it. The sick, psychopathic architects of this, they just want to control and enslave and genocide everyone. They've introduced this plan. They've come up with all these measures. They've tried to put them in place. But the minute the population realises what it's all about, and they realise it's an attack on their God-given natural rights and freedom of movement and freedom of assembly, they rise up in their mass numbers, stand shoulder to shoulder in unity, and find any way they can of making it abundantly clear that they're not having it. We're not living like this. You don't own us over our very lives, our very being, so long as we're doing no harm. We're causing no harm and no loss, then we have a right to live freely. Somewhere in this parallel universe, real men with fucking balls and a backbone and a couple of brain cells would have risen up in their mass numbers in protection of their families, representing the rest of society, and sent a very clear message that they're not having it. We do not consent. None of us consent. And you are not going to put this tyranny and this slavery on us. And the minute you try, we will do whatever's required to put it down. Because that's self-defense. And it's pride and it's respect. So somewhere in a parallel universe, this might be happening. But not, sadly, the number one threat to people that just want to live freely, sovereign, which is the number one right of creation, to be left alone so long as you're causing no harm to another. That's how we should all be living. And the number one threat to that is no longer coming from the cabal, the evildoers, psychopaths, call them what you will. It's coming from weak, compliant, fearful, mask-wearing, imbecilic, childlike, regular people that have no dignity, don't think to apply critical thought to a situation or even common sense. They are providing the main threat to the rights and freedoms of everyone else. I mean, how is it even possible to still be asleep in the year 2020? How is that even possible? I mean, I've been awake and aware for 10 years now, and in 2010, there was a lot of information around then of an alternative, truth, conspiracy, variety, to give an alternative take on things to what you get from mainstream outlets. But in 2020, there's an absolute tsunami of a deluge in it for anyone that has the will to go and find it. It's no longer an excuse to say you didn't know. If If you didn't know, well, why didn't you know? Don't you think we're at a stage now where everyone has someone in their life, whether it's a family member that they live with, another relative, an uncle, a cousin, whatever, somebody in their circle of friends, somebody at work who talks about alternative takes on mainstream narratives, talks about truthful information, conspiracy, if you want to call it that. Don't you think everyone would have had that kind of conversation, or would know somebody that tried to bring an alternative take on things across their radar by this point? So saying, oh, I didn't know there was anything different in the world to what was told in the mainstream news. How was I supposed to know they weren't telling the truth? I didn't know the governments were liars. Well, why not? You've had ample opportunity to discover this by now, particularly if you call yourself a grown adult. You don't yet realise that the government are liars, with a fair few paedophiles and Satanists thrown into the mix as well. If you don't yet realise that mainstream outlets like the BBC and all the others are propaganda arms for the government and the control system, that their job is to lie to you, mind control you, brainwash you, why don't you know? There's no longer any excuse. The information is out there. So if you're remaining ignorant, in 2020, you're remaining willfully ignorant. And the situation we have now is the vast, overwhelming majority of people living in ignorance, refusing to look at truth, refusing to face up to the reality of what is going on in our world, complying with unjust, immoral tyranny, is putting the rights and freedoms of people that don't want to live like that, like me and many others, who respect our rights and freedoms, but we're not able to live that way because we're all being held in collective punishment together, owing to the ignorance and the stupidity of the masses. So these people are going to have to be forced to face up to the truth, because they do not have a right to remain in ignorance. And let me make an analogy here. So supposing you're on the top of a cliff and there's somebody dangling a child over the edge of the cliff and they're threatening to drop them. So what do? You try and persuade that person to put the kid back to safety on the edge of the cliff, right? Now supposing that person says, no, I don't want to do that. It's my free will, it's my choice, and I'm going to drop this kid. Would you just accept that that's their right? Would you accept that's their decision, that's their free will? Just let it be? Or would you take a moral stand and say, no, I'm not going to allow you to drop that child over the edge of the cliff because it's an immoral act, it's wrong action, and you have no right to be taking it. So I'm going to prevent you from doing it. I'm going to force you to put that kid back to safety. That's right action. Well, that's what we're looking at here. Those mask-wearing morons believing every line of a provable lie. Surely everyone has worked out by now that the whole coronavirus narrative is a massive scam, a massive lie. You can take it apart at every stage and show that what we're being told is a crock of crap. So given that it's all based on lies and deceptions, people do not have a right to create a situation where all of us are being held together in slavery and tyranny. You do not have that right. You need to be coerced out of that behaviour, out of that mindset, into one that benefits the rest of humanity. And that is the process that needs to happen, and that is what we're up against. And people will often say, well, facing up to the truth is really scary. That's why people don't want to admit what's really going on in the world. They get too fearful. And the future that's being planned for us right now isn't scary. You prefer to avoid facing up to this scary narrative because it might make you feel fearful and anxious, and instead just march headlong into what's planned for us just around the corner. The 5G switch off. And the way that's going to decimate and destroy the health of millions potentially. 5G AI-controlled smart cities with facial recognition. Mandatory vaccinations with chips. So yeah, every movement can be traced and tracked. Digital electronic currency, which can decide what you can and can't buy, according to whether the system, working through the facial recognition, has worked out whether it likes you or not, whether you're towing the official line or not. That's if the fucking vaccine doesn't kill you in the first place, which it runs a strong chance of doing. So none of that is scary, no? Well, that is what's coming if people will not pull their heads out their asses and wake up pretty fucking quick. Because all of us are going to be facing this situation, and some of us who respect rights and freedoms, understand what they are, understand where they come from, are not having it. We're not happy about it. And we're not going to let you ignorant morons in your fear-based state create that for us. You are playing right into the hands of the manipulators. There are psychologists, anthropologists, social scientists working through groups like the Tavistock Institute that have predicted exactly what the hive mindset and the collective psyche of humanity is going to be in response to what they plan to roll out. And you can bet they're mighty satisfied with the results. Because most people are behaving in their sheep-like manner in exactly the way these people knew they would. And they'll be patting each other on the back down at their gentlemen's clubs, because you can bet they're still open. They're still getting a drink down there, patting each other on the back and congratulating each other